Hello and welcome back to Hunt Hill at Home. We are going to be talking about scat today, and I brought in a few of my friends. And as you all know, all animals poop. So we're going to take a look at some different kinds of poop, and we will also have a mystery scat for you to look at and try to figure out what it is. Before we begin, I've got our joke of the day. So, what is brown and sounds like a bell? Dung. All right, so we're going to be talking about scat today. Scat is the word that we use to talk about any feces or poop that comes from an animal when we're studying it. So I have three different types of animals here. We've got our porcupine, we have a black bear, and we have a red fox. These animals, of course, are not to scale. But I chose these animals because they all have a different characteristic on what they eat. This porcupine only eats plant materials. Porcupines eat a lot of things like trees and bark and occasionally buds off of trees in the spring. So they eat only plants. So porcupines are called herbivores. All animals that eat only plants are herbivores. Now the red fox here is the opposite. The red fox eats mostly things like mice and little creatures that it can catch. It does a lot of hunting and it only eats meat. So animals that only eat meat, we call them a carnivore. Then of course we've got in the middle, we've got our black bear. Black bears are called omnivores because they eat just about anything. If they can find meat to eat, they will eat meat. If they can find any berries to eat, they'll eat berries. They'll eat garbage. They'll eat whatever they can find. So an animal that eats both plants and animals is called an omnivore. Now the reason I'm telling you all about this, you're probably thinking, Sage, we came here to learn about scat. Well, the scat is very important. It's very important for you to know what kinds of animals produce what kind of scat. So I'm going to sort out the scat into these three categories, into herbivores, omnivores, or carnivores. And I want you to be looking and seeing what similarities and differences you might notice. So, right here we have the cottontail rabbit. And this is the cottontail rabbit's scat. Now, if you're worried about me and you're like, Sage, you shouldn't be handling scat, this is fake scat. It's made out of silicone, just like spatulas in your kitchen. So it's safe for me to handle. If you find scat out in the wild, you can definitely look at it, poke at it with a stick, but don't touch it with your fingers because you'll get bacteria on your hands. So, this is our cottontail rabbit scat. It's pretty tiny. It's smaller than my pinky fingernail, and it's very circular and light colored. Some of my students have said that it looks kind of like cat food almost, but your cat wouldn't want to eat it. So, cottontail rabbits are an herbivore. They eat mostly plants, so I'm going to put it in the herbivore category. The next one is a lot bigger. This one right here is our timber wolf. So, timber wolf scat looks like this. It doesn't wobble around as much as this one does. It has tapered ends, and it is very long, like a rope. And this one looks probably the most like your dog's poop does. but it's quite a bit bigger than most little dogs' poop. So I'm going to put this in our carnivore category. Now here we've got a raccoon. Raccoon's poop is kind of blobby. A raccoon can eat all sorts of things. It will eat things like berries and nuts, but it will also eat animals. It will hunt down birds and rodents, and it might even attack your chicken sometimes. So this is our raccoon poop. Since it eats both plants and animals, we're going to put it in our omnivore category. Here's our porcupine. Now we already talked about the porcupine, how it eats things like bark and twigs and buds off of trees. And if you look really closely, here is our scat for the porcupine. It almost looks like red beans. They're about the size of a bean. They're a little bit longer than, like if you look at our cottontail rabbit again, they're longer than that one, but they are still about similar in size. And here's our last scat we're going to look at. This is red fox. And here is the red fox scat. You can see that it's long and ropey, and it has more tapered edges, and it's not as blobby as some of them. And this one also looks similar to what your dog's poop might look like. So if I'm looking at all of the different scat samples that I brought out today, we can notice some similarities and differences. If we look at the herbivores over here, you'll see that they're both very small, and they're like pellets, little dry pellets. They often come in a pile, and they're round or bean-shaped. Now if we go all the way over to our carnivore section, the carnivore's scat tends to be longer and larger, and there's only a few pieces in there rather than a huge pile. And lastly, in the very middle, we have kind of the mixture of the two. So these ones tend to be blobby, and there are fewer pieces of scat, but they hold together a little bit better, but they're not quite as long as a carnivore scat. So when you see scat out in the wilderness, now you should be able to tell at least what sort of animal it is and what kind of thing it eats. So you might not know for sure what animal left the scat, but you might know that it's a carnivore or it's an herbivore. Now, I want you to take a look at this mystery scat, and I want you in the comments to say what type of animal you think left it, whether you think it was an herbivore, an omnivore, or a carnivore. And then if you have a guess on what common Wisconsin animal could have left this, you can also say what specific name of the animal is. So here is our mystery scat. I'll put a white sheet behind it. It is small and a pile of pellets. So leave in the comments what type of animal and what specific animal if you've got a guess. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye.